This has got to be my most favorite chapter and my most favorite book in the New Testament. James, a servant of Yah and of the Lord Jesus Christ, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad, greeting. My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into divers temptations, knowing this, that the trying of your faith worketh patience. But let patience have her perfect work, that you may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing. If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of Yah, that giveth to all men liberally and upbraideth not, and it shall be given to him. Now we're going to read the rest of this as it's written, because I just love this chapter. Okay, so verse 6, it says, But let him ask in faith, nothing wavering, for he that wavereth is like a wave of the sea, driven with the wind and tossed. For let not that man think that he shall receive anything of the Lord. A double-minded man is unstable in all of his ways. Verse 9 says, Let the brother of low degree rejoice in that he is exalted, but the rich in that he is made low, because as the flower of the grass he shall pass away. For the sun is no sooner risen with a burning heat, but it withereth the grass, and the flower thereof falleth, and the grace of the fashion of it perisheth. So also shall the rich man fade away in his ways. If you're like me, do you just love the book of James? I mean, I love the book of James. And I think when I was a young girl, I sort of remembered it on purpose, because it was one of those books to me. Hey, woman of spirit. It was one of those books to me that just sort of said it all, sort of laid it on out there. I love it. So let's go ahead and finish this. We're just reading. There's nothing fancy at all. But it's the word, so that's the fancy piece. All right, so let's see. Verse 12. Blessed is the man that endureth temptation, for when he is tried, he shall receive the crown of life, which the Lord hath promised to them that love him. Verse 13 says, Let no man say when he's tempted that I am tempted of God, for God cannot be tempted with evil, neither tempteth he any man. But every man is tempted. This is the key right here. But every person, I'm going to say person, everybody is tempted when he is drawn away, or when they're drawn away of their own lust and enticed. Tempted of their own lusts, what's in their soulish realm or heart, or what they love to do, and enticed. Verse 15 says, Then when lust hath conceived, it bringeth forth sin, and sin, when it is finished, bringeth forth death. Verse 16 says, Do not err, my beloved brethren. Every good and perfect gift is from above, and cometh down from the Father of lights, with whom is no variableness, neither shadow of turning. Of his own will begat he us with the word of truth, that we should be kind of first fruits of his creatures. Wherefore, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, and slow to speak, and slow to wrath. Oh, this is like water to my soul as I read this right now. Verse 20 says, For the wrath of man worketh not the righteousness of God, or of Yah. Wherefore lay apart all filthiness and superfluity of naughtiness, and receive with meekness the engrafted word, which is able to save our souls. Whoa, remember what we talked about the other day. The soul is that realm that has the will, which is able to save our souls. Verse 22. But be ye doers of the word, and not hearers only, deceiving your own selves. For any man be a hearer of the word, if any man be a hearer of the word and not a doer, he is like unto a man beholding his natural face in a glass. For he beholdeth himself, and go his way, and straightway forget what manner of man he was. In other words, He looked at himself in the mirror, turned around, walked away, and forgot what he looked like. Whoa. Verse 25 says, "But whoso looketh into the perfect law of liberty and continueth therein, he, being not a forgetful hearer, but a doer of the work, this man shall be blessed indeed. If any man among you seem religious, and does not bridle his tongue, but deceiveth his own heart, this man, his religion is in vain. Pure religion and undefiled before God and the Father. This is," see, I don't like how they say God and the Father. I want to know what that is right there whenever I see that. I need a Ronnie Man on this one. To visit the fatherless, the widows in their affliction, and to keep himself unspotted from the world. So that means complete, pure, unadulterated sanctification. Hey, Lisa, how you doing, sis? Just complete, unadulterated sanctification. Don't you know that's sweet? To be separated and sanctified just for him and his use, that's a nice thing. But yeah, I love James. I've always loved the book of James. To me, it just seems like the book of James has those life lessons that you just gotta have it. You know what I mean? It's like you just have to have it. There's nothing else there's nothing that's better to me, you know. Let's see. Let's go to the second chapter. Because like I said, this is nothing that was planned. I was just about to read myself. And as I began to read, I was like, you know what? Others may want to hear this too. So let's just read it together. Let's see, how do you get to the next one on this little baby here? Because I normally don't use this one. I normally use the Bible Hub. Let's see. I hope you ladies are doing good tonight. It's sort of cool that we're just hanging out together, right? I like it. Let's change this to a 2 and see what has happened. James chapter 2. Okay. All right. We see. And we're reading it straight through just for context. All right. Let's see. Can you guys still see it? Yeah, you can still see it. Hey, Red Scout. It means God and the Father as one and the same. Thank you, Red Scout. But you know what? I like to break it on down. And I know what you just said is very good and true. But I like to break it down. So I think I might break it down a little bit later. Anyway, let's go ahead. Let's finish reading, you guys. And I'm glad it's just a few of us in here right now. Because again, this wasn't planned. So it's not like I put it up and let everybody know. But I do want to go to James chapter 2. All right, let's do that. All right, here we are. My brethren, have not the faith of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Lord of glory, with respect to persons. For if there come unto your assembly, a man with a gold ring and goodly apparel, and there come in also a poor man in vile raiment, and you have respect to him that weareth the gay clothing or the good clothing, and say unto him, Here, you sit here in a good place. And then you look at the old poor man and you say, Now you stand down there, or sit there under my footstool. Are you not then partial in yourselves, and are become judges of evil thoughts? Hearken, my beloved brethren, hath not God chosen the poor of this world rich in faith, and heirs of the kingdom which he hath promised that to them that love him? Verse 6 says, But you have despised the poor. Do not rich men oppress you and draw you before the judgment seats? Do they blaspheme that worthy name by which you are called? If you fulfill the royal law according to the scripture, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself, you do well. Hey, that right there, you guys, that's that harmony. It's like those words right there have a frequency in and of themselves. They're like, the frequency of our Father. You know what I'm saying? Because if you could just imagine that, just to love somebody, you cannot say the word love and not smile. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself, you do well. But if you have respect to persons, you commit sin and are convinced of the law as transgressors. I think that's supposed to be convicted, but it says are convinced. It could be both. I don't know. Of the law as transgressors. And verse 10 says, for whosoever shall keep the whole law and yet offend in one point, he is guilty of all. That law, this law right here, this one right here, you can keep a piece of it. Okay? Let me back out of that. Okay? Yeah. Yeah, you gotta do all of that right there. You gotta do all of that. Verse 11 says, for he that saith, do not commit adultery, said also, don't kill. So if thou does not commit any adultery, but yet you go out and you kill somebody, you are a transgressor of the whole law. So speak ye, and do so, and so do, as they that shall be judged by the law of liberty. For he shall have judgment without mercy, that hath showed no mercy, and mercy rejoiceth against judgment. What does it profit, my brethren, though a man say that he has faith, and he have not works? Can faith save him? Oh, I don't think so. If a brother or a sister is naked and destitute of daily food, and if one of you say unto him, depart in peace, and be warmed and filled, notwithstanding, give him not those things which are needed to the body, what does it profit? Does it profit anything? Do you remember whenever whenever Jesus would always go out and deal with the people, he always dealt with the need immediately, right? He always dealt with the need immediately, like with the when he had the 2-piece or the little kids, the fishes and the bread. And it's so funny to me because when you consider he had that little fish pouch from the kid, and he set it down there and he fed all the men, and the men did not include the count for the children and the women, which we know had to be there at some point. But how much food multiplied to feed them? He fed them first, and after he fed them, took all the leftovers and put them on the ship, and they was taken back on the other side. But my point is, he had all of that food, but he fed the people. It's like, don't tell me anything about the scripture if I'm sitting here hungry, because I can't listen to nothing if I'm hungry. If I'm hungry, there is nothing that you can tell me. So meet the need of the people first. Meet the need of the people and then give them what they need. So in other words, do not say to a brother or a sister, if a brother or a sister be naked and destitute of daily food, and one of you say unto them, oh, go in peace and be warmed and filled, notwithstanding you give them not those things which are needful to the body, what does it profit? It don't mean you nothing to say that. Go on ahead, have a good time. That's so hilarious to me, but it is so true. Even so, faith, if it hath not works, is dead being alone. Yeah. A man may say, thou hast faith and I have works, and show me thy faith without thy works, and I will show thee my faith by my works. Thou believest that there is one God, thou doest well. The devils also believe and tremble. But wilt thou know, O vain man, that faith without works is dead? Was not Abraham our father justified by works, when he had offered Isaac his son upon the altar? Seest thou how faith wrought with his works, and by works was faith made perfect? And the scripture was fulfilled, which saith, Abraham believed God, and it was imputed or counted unto him for righteousness. And he was called the friend of God. Oh, we could just stop right there. I love it. I love it. Verse 24 says, you see then how that by works a man is justified, and not by faith only. So they're like the brothers that go together. You know what I mean? You got to have one neatly fitted with the other. Likewise also, was not Rahab the harlot justified by works when she had received the messengers and had sent them out another way? Sure she was. For as the body without the spirit is dead, so faith without works is dead also. I just love it. So I just had to bring you guys into what I was reading tonight. This was something that I just had to read it. I mean, I was reading it and I said, I think maybe other people might be interested in this. So let me just go ahead on and pull it up. Let me pull it up and just check it out, you know? And so I'm glad that that the handful of us that are here right now. But I appreciate you guys for hanging out. Ronnie, man, how's it going there? Hey, Peppy. Peppy, what's with the hand on the cheek? Fang Meisters, how are you? Second time today. I hear Jesus and the fish and the bread. Love it. I like Peppy's face. It looks, it reminds me of the, Lisa. Peppy's face reminds me of what's that, Gab. The Gab little thingy moniker or whatever. Ronnie, I sent you a link if you want to get in on this. You're welcome to. Again, it's nothing planned, so I didn't call anybody or let anybody know, none of the mods or anything. I just said, you know what? I just want to read this, and I really honestly do enjoy James. I really do, because to me, James is like down there where you live. Okay? Fang Meister says, when you love Father God and Jesus Christ of Nazareth, Yahweh, it is impossible not to have works, because you love the Lord so much and all he does. You know what I mean? It's like, wow. You don't know, I don't know, don't have Gab. It has the little face, doesn't it, Peppy? It has the little, well, no, I don't know what that is, Peppy, but it is. Anyway, you guys don't pay me no mind. But anyway, I just wanted to tell you guys that I so adore reading this particular chapter. There are a lot of other chapters that I enjoy, but I think the reason why I like this one is because it sort of builds you up to make you understand exactly what you're going through in this day and age is not a shock to the Father, but that it's so plain and simple, and it talks to you just plain and simple. Here it is, even with the King's English, as it were, or the Queen's English, as it were. This particular book, to me, explains it all and breaks it all down. It really does. Even, to me, I even like the way that James even referenced Rahab the harlot. You know, there'd be some people who do not, who don't even consider Rahab the harlot, because that sort of turns them off. Oh, Rahab, they said Rahab, she was a prostitute. I don't want to pay any attention to that. But if you look at her, she was actually in the lineage of it all. She was actually way down the line. So you cannot discount people and say, oh, well, you're better than this one, so I'm going to hang out with you. Or you're no good, so I'm not going to hang out with you. Look at the clothing that you wear. You know, somebody might have on a miniskirt. Somebody may not have anything to wear because they're poor or they're destitute or maybe their home burned down. And here you are judging them based on what you see. But if you see somebody that has not gotten anything and you got an extra one, give it to them. And then what happens if you know you got more at the house? Well, take what you got off and give it to them. Help the people. Cover those folks. You know what I mean? Cover them. Cover them. Because it's so essential that we just do it. But my favorite part was talking about my favorite part was where it just broke it down with love. That love is so important. Fang Meister says Rahab was in the lineage, a businesswoman, made the finest linen and all the land. Yeah, Rahab had a lot going on. Rahab had a whole bunch going on. That's right. So I just really love that book. I know that as more people come in, maybe we can take a gander at chapter 3. Why not? Like I said, we don't necessarily have to stop at chapter 1, but we can go on. My brethren, be not many masters, knowing that we shall receive the greater condemnation. For in many things we offend all. If any man offend not in word, the same is a perfect man, and able also to bridle his whole body. Behold, we put bits in a horse's mouth, that they may obey us, and we turn about their whole body. Behold also the ship, which, though they be so great, are driven of fierce and driven of fierce winds, yet they are turned about with a little bitty small helm, whithersoever the governeth listeth. So it doesn't matter. It's a big giant ship, but it's got a little bitty wheel, and you move that big old ship around with that little bitty wheel. But it's also talking about that tongue. In verse 5, even so the tongue is a little member, and boasteth great things. Behold, how great a matter a little fire kindleth. Whoo, it's a fire starter. And the tongue is a fire, a world of iniquity. So is the tongue among our members, that it defileth the whole body, and setteth on fire the course of nature, and it is set on fire of hell. Verse 7, for every kind of beast, and of birds, and of serpents, and of things in the sea is tamed, and hath been tamed of mankind. But the tongue can no man tame. It is an unruly evil, full of deadly poison. Verse 9 says, therewith we bless God, even the Father, and therewith we curse men, which are made after the similitude of God. They're similar. They're made in his image. Verse 10 says, out of the same mouth proceed blessings and cursings. My brethren, these things ought not to be so. Doth a fountain send forth the same place sweet water and bitter? Can the fig tree, my brethren, bear olives? Either a vine figs? So can no fountain both yield salt and water fresh. Verse 13. Who is a wise man and endued with knowledge among you? Let him show out of good conversation his works with meekness and of wisdom. Oh, good stuff. You see what I mean? Just like basic stuff. Like these are like the quick reminders. That's why I like this, because it's like a quick reminder. Get back in line. You shading outside the line. Come on back over. Verse 14 says, but if you have bitter envying and strife in your hearts, glory not, and lie not against the truth. This wisdom descendeth not from above, but is earthly, sensual, and devilish. Verse 16 says, for where envying and strife is, there is confusion, and every evil work. But the wisdom that is from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, and is easily to be entreated, full of mercy and good fruits, without partiality and without hypocrisy. And the fruit of righteousness is sown in peace of them that make peace. Good stuff, right? You know that this is for people who know the Father. You know that this is for people who know the Father. Because it's encouragement. You could not have this thought process if you didn't know the Father. It's impossible. This has to be written to people who are being encouraged to stay on the right path, who are being encouraged to discuss and to live the right way, to discuss things and to talk about things in the right fashion, to treat people with love and kindness, to look out for one another, regardless of who they are, regardless of what they wear, how rich they are, how poor they are, if they've got a great job title or if they don't have a great job title, to just treat people good. This is a governor of sorts because, when I think of governors, it reminds me of J.B. Hunt. They have a governor inside of their trucks, and that governor will only go to a certain level, but it lets the driver know you can't go any faster than this, and it puts them there, but it's for safety's sake. That governor is put in their trucks to keep them safe. Now, people driving behind them may not like it because unless they're going downhill, Those trucks don't necessarily pick up a good pace, right? But they do arrive safely. But every time I think of this type of thing, I'm thinking of that type of governor, something that is a standard that's there, that's pretty much for your safety. It's pretty much to keep you in line and to remind you of where you are, remind you of your surroundings. I pity the day or shudder to think of the day where we're headed, where I've done some stories, and some of you may have seen them, on the trucks that drive themselves, 18 wheelers and whatnot. Whew, can you imagine? That's like a ship without a captain, you know? It's definitely going to end up someplace shipwrecked. It's the same thing that we can do with ourselves if we do not look at this passage and govern ourselves accordingly. Man, I needed this. I needed this. I'm so happy to the Father that He led me to read this tonight, because that's why, I was reading it and I was like, hey, yeah, let's everybody join in. You know what I mean? Hello, Michelle Solers. How are you? Oh, well, you know what? I am so happy that you are here. I was sharing with everybody, Michelle, that I was literally just about to start reading the passage, James 1. And then I decided, you know what? Maybe everybody else wants to get in on this. Hey, Ronnie, man, how are you? It is so good to see you, brother. So yeah, so I just decided, you know what, just let everybody else come on in and read this and listen to this and read it together. Because to me, it is so important for us to really, really get down with the get down. And and so anyway, Ronnie, what's going on with you?
Oh man, it's good. It's good to be invited. How are you?
Well, it's good to have you here. And I wanted to see if you wanted to add anything to any of the verses that we have gone through. Because I tell you what, to me, it's just the simplicity of it all. You know what I mean? It's like this particular chapter, you cannot get any simpler than this. It's just basic. It's like, basic down home rules and just good manners. Like they say down south, it's just good manners. It's just good manners. Hello.
Can you hear me? I'm wondering if you can hear me. I don't think you
I'm
can
going to
hear
be
me.
clicking you on and off because I have no headphones on. And so, for me not to have any background noise, I'm going to click you on and off here so that I can hear you. But go ahead and talk while I click off.
All right, well, let me know if you can hear me first because I don't want to ramble and you can't even hear me.
I hear you.
Oh, okay, good. It's really interesting that you were speaking on James being written for people who are, I'm paraphrasing what you said, but basically trying to seek out the way, if you will, and are actually wanting to do the Father's works and the Father's will. Um, James is a fascinating, definitely a fascinating book in and of itself. But what's interesting is the word James or the book of James. That translation, the name James, is actually a corruption of the word Jacob. So when you're reading the book of James, in actuality, you're reading the book of Jacob, and these are instructions for the house of Jacob. So I think that
Whoa.
that's fascinating in and of itself. Um, and like you said, these are basic concepts because you have to go back to the basics.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because what a lot of the I don't know, people in authority have done is they've taken the truth of the word and then they've made it this heavy weight laden thing that you have to do it this way, and when you do it your pinky has to be out, and you have to uh, you have to do it a certain type of way or
Yeah.
else, you know what I mean. But when you go
Yeah.
back to the basics and the fundamentals, these things are laws of morality and how to live, to love yourself and your brethren,
Mm.
and everybody else. Like you have to guard this thing. Like it says, when you find the truth, you buy the whole entire lot and then bury bury it.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have to guard this thing with your life. So you don't want a lot of outside influences to determine what and how righteousness is and how it's supposed to be enacted, because he has a specific way on how he wants you to live, and that in turn translates to the word righteousness. But you hit a lot of key points, and I thought that it was vital. But um, just to say, all in all, yeah, James is a corruption of the word Jacob. So
Mm,
if this particular book is speaking to you,
mm-hmm.
these are instructions for the house of Jacob moving forward.
I love it. It's like I smile whenever I read James. This in the New Testament, as far as New Testament texts, is concerned, is by far my favorite. I can't think of anything else in the New Testament that I just am enamored of, besides the Book of James. You know, I just love it. I really, really just love it. To me, I feel like, if all I had was this book, and so if they take, which I'm sure they're going to eventually, since we're following the path of 1984, if they took them all away and the only one I could take out was this one, this would be the one that I would take, the Book of James. You know, I just feel like there is such great truth in the word in and of itself. But when you bring forth the point of it being the house of Jacob or Jacob, it makes it even more poignant.
It does. It
Yes, he
does.
was Fangmeisters, the brother of Yahweh the son of Mary and Joseph, you state. Yes,
Right. So it's
definitely.
only it's only natural, or it makes a lot of sense, I would say, that his name would be Yahushua, and his brother's name would be Yaakov. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
because these are two names that are historically Hebraic, Jacob and salvation, if you will, Joshua. In the English rendering, it would be it would it pardon me, it would be Joshua. So um, yeah, it only makes good sense that it would be Jacob. But yeah, yeah, isn't that fascinating?
It's fascinating. I see a few people have snuck in here on us. I see Charlie Sigler. I see Rachel Van Ziel. Um, and Kyle Solar said, very good, Ronnie.
Hey, shout out to Mr. Charlie Sigler.
Yeah.
So it's
Lisa
always a
Arhall
pleasure to
says
hear his
that
name.
she's, I'm sorry, I can't talk when you talk. I'm sorry,
No,
go.
I was just saying shout out to Mr. Sigler, and it's always cool to hear his name. That's all.
Yep, it is. It is. But yeah, so like I was just saying earlier, it's like it's impossible to read the book of James and not be happy and not be, it's not a place where you're only going to get happiness if you are in right standing, or at least if you're attempting to walk in right standing on a daily basis, and you get convicted while reading this. That's a good thing. To me, that's a good thing, because it puts you if you had a seared conscience and reading this doesn't make you change or doesn't make you check yourself, then you're in trouble. But by
Right.
reading this, you'd be like, ooh, ouch, let me get right. Ah, ooh, I was so mean, or ooh, ouch, I didn't show love, or yikes, I missed an opportunity to do the right thing. That's a good place to be while we're here, because it means you still see exactly what you have to get right. And that's cool. I like it. I like it. So, I don't
There,
know.
there, there's a potential harm in modern day westernized Christianity that teaches us that Jesus has done it all for you, so you don't have to do anything. You can, for lack of another term, basically ride his coattails on in.
Man,
And
I would be running like a train without direction.
but it's scary. I mean, like there's scripture all over the place that says every man has to bring his own sacrifice. So we can't rely on another man's sacrifice. What we
I
can
would be
do is learn
running.
from the wise
Yeah.
and what they've done. And then when we see, because they are leading by example, how they walk it out, they're showing us how to walk it out as well. So it puts you in the driver's seat, because there's other places that says you need to work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. So it puts you in the driver's seat instead of relying on somebody else's, sacrifice to get you in. You're the one in the driver's seat, and James is an excellent example of the instructions in the road map on how and where to drive.
I love it. Well, you guys that are just coming in, I was sharing with everybody that I was just reading by myself, and then I thought, I think maybe others may want to hear this. And so I just pulled this up, and I'm reading out of the BRG Bible. I like it because it reminds me of what I learned. There's so many differences that are now in the King James, even when I read it, that are different than what they were. Charlie Sigler or Rachel, can somebody please do me a favor and tell me if I'm 5 by 5? We changed the settings on the audio on here because we did some things. We're putting a studio, not a big one. Please don't think it's something fancy. But some of you all blessed me just recently with some donations, and I was able to get some things to make this a more hospitable area, or a more what do you say? Well, how do you say it? What would it be? Like the aesthetics or whatever? You guys had sent some wonderful blessings just recently. And so you'll see a difference when I unveil it. It ain't fancy, fancy, but it's nice. It's a lot better than it was. So we had to do some changes with it. It's 5 by 5. Okay, perfect. Yeah, we had to change the way the mic is set. It's so now it's set in a place that it will always be, so it won't be different. It'll always be set this way that we've got it now, and then there's some stuff going on the back now. So, we'll see. I think it'll be fun though. We're gonna have a good time with it. But I do want to thank all of you who have given recently because you've made some things possible. That's good. I appreciate that so much. The StreamYard that we have, you guys gave recently, and the reason why we're able to have that on the screen and have Ronnie on the screen is because some of you gave. And so I want to thank you for that. I just want to be transparent and tell you where the stuff you give, when you give it, goes. And so I just want to let you know that. Fang Meisters have some word here. It says John 14:12. Christ says, "Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that believeth on me, the works that I do, shall you do also, and greater works than these shall he do, because I go unto my Father." Absolutely right. The greater works is, you know what? What did he do while he was here? Well, then we do greater works. But I tell you, the one thing that is such a sweet thing about this exceptional passage that Fang Meisters brought forward, and that is that we cannot do it apart from his leaning, meaning we have to completely pour ourselves out. We have to completely
You
pour
do.
ourselves out.
You
And
do.
we have to have his infilling. We have to allow ourselves here in this earth realm to be his representative. And while we are his representative, all of us has to be gone. We have to die daily to sin. We have to die daily to anger. We have to die daily to selfishness. We have to die daily. Oh, ouch, here it comes to hypocrisy, saying one thing and doing another. We have to die daily to those things. And then greater works. Then, because remember, we just saw there in James where you're not going to get that sweet and salty, or, good and bad at the same exact time. You have to be, we must. And what's wrong with walking that way? What's wrong with it? I've been praying every morning, early in the morning, or interceding, I should say. I've been praying for myself, but interceding for everyone else, between 6 and 8 o'clock. Doesn't have to be exactly 6, doesn't have to be exactly 8 o'clock. Has to be within that time frame because I know other people are doing it too. So we sort of want to be in one accord. But just imagine, by working on that every day, it will keep you in a place of remembering who you are, because he fills us up as we empty ourselves out. We pour ourselves out and lay all the trash at the altar. We say, we're sorry. I'm going to lay all this down here to this altar. And I'm going to tell you that I know that without you, I have nothing. Lay it all out and then fill it all back up with His Word. Therefore, you're able to pass out His Word to everybody and live it out. I'm going to tell you something about my brother Ronnie and my brother Lee as well. These are two men that are on point at all times. I'm not saying that they don't miss it because I believe their wives would know if they did. I don't know. I do know that what you see here is what you see all the time. All the time. And it's because they've worked those muscles. He's worked that muscle. Ronnie has worked that muscle to walk the way he's supposed to walk, a way that is pleasing to Yah at all times. And I say that because that's what I know he lives, not just here, but in private. That's the desire to let us know that we can do it. If we see one person do it, then it dispels the myth that it can't be done. Does that make sense, you guys? It's like, some people say, well, we can't be perfect. No, we can't be perfect. And I'm not saying Ronnie's perfect. What I'm saying is you see the effort and there is fruit that comes from the effort. Whew. I said all that just to get to that piece. Thank you, Father. That's what I'm trying to say. You see the effort, and with the effort, there is fruit. In other words, the tree is bearing the specific fruit that it's supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
The tree is bearing the specific fruit that it's supposed to. Okay? Rachel says, and good evening to all that are here silently. Yes, ma'am. Greater works, more in number, or greater in power, or both. To survive in these days, we must have protection. It's a barrier. That's right. And as we have the standard and we're living according to the standard that he puts, truly and honestly, the more that we read the word, the more that we are in concert with each other, to be honest with you guys, the more that we meet like this, it does help each one of us. You know what I'm saying? It's not we're going to put each person on Front Street or, put yourself out there on Front Street. You go and you ask for forgiveness and you get it together between you and Yah. And he teaches and encourages you every single day. I can tell you that. When you put yourself at a place where you tell him to teach you, oh boy, he's going to talk to you and show you. He really does. Yah truly and honestly does show up. He does. I think he really loves it when we ask him for guidance. When we say, I can't do this without you. I need you to lead me. Exactly, Fang. The fellowship. You see? It's the fellowship. And knowing that, hey, he loves me because look where he sent me to be fed, to be watered. Fang Meister said something and it lifted me up because it was the word and it was true. And because he said it, because Fang Meister said it, and it's the word, now I've got a little bit more encouragement and I can keep going. Just like Rachel Van Ziel says, it's encouragement. We have to do this even more as we see all the stuff that we're going through right now. We have to be more encouraged. And I tell you the other day when we had the conversation and I said there were certain things that I wasn't going to talk about anymore, it leads me to now be a little more silent. And I'm like, gee willikers, I'm not posting. I didn't post because I have to be cognizant. But as we see the day approaching, we have got to encourage one another and hold each other up. We've got to be the Miriam and Aaron, as it were. We got to hold each other's arms up so that we can make it through. What you think about that, Ronnie?
Yeah, I got a song lyric that says, as the day approaches, let me reverse the curse. I can't believe Yeah. Let me reverse the curse and reverse the focus. You have to reverse the focus and go back to square one. So but you're absolutely right. What's vital is that sacrifice isn't necessarily the number one game plan. Uh, Obedience is better than sacrifice. There, you wouldn't have to sacrifice anything if you just obey. And he said to be meek, be lowly, be I mean, we you just read it in James where it said basically it's the flip of westernized capitalism or modern society or whatever. It's blessed is the one who really doesn't have a lot, and then, and I'm paraphrasing, but
Yeah, because he ain't saying
cursed
that
is
you're
the
gonna
one.
stay without it.
eh, well, I'm saying cursed
I
is the
hear you.
one
Yes,
that
yes,
is
yes.
rich though, like so. And then you have all the I'm paraphrasing again, all the concepts of a camel can do hula hoops through a eye of a needle before a rich man is ever going to enter into the kingdom of heaven. So I mean, uh these concepts is like, if you stay lowly, like there's no need for sacrifice and you just obey, and he's going to
Mm-hmm.
provide your every need. So what's interesting is we've heard the concept of as far as being obedient and then sacrificing or what have you. um
Mm-hmm.
we've heard the concept of uh the sacrifice being a blameless lamb, without blemish, without spot, without wrinkle, things of that nature, depending on what translation you read. So you have a sacrifice that is without blemish,
Mm-hmm.
and we are supposed to be the living sacrifice. So inadvertently, you are the lamb that is sacrificed daily, because you are daily dying to yourself. He showed you how to do it. He did it first. I'll be the lamb, and I'm going to put my life on the line so I can obtain, the kingdom. And he did it. And then he also obtains kingship. He's the man. We see in the book of Revelation, there's basically an inauguration, and he's sitting on the throne, and he gets crowned with many crowns. Um, but he showed us how to do it, and so inadvertently, metaphorically, if you will, we are that lamb, that spotless, blameless, without blemish, without wrinkle lamb, that dies to ourselves daily, so we can, and how, through obedience to the word, to what he said. And we become the living sacrifice. So this is what's interesting. If you're supposed to be a living sacrifice daily, the sacrifice is without spot or blemish. That's correct. You've heard that a dozen times, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or
Mm-hmm.
a couple of handfuls of times you've heard the sacrifices to be without spot or without blemish. So my mind is like, well, if I'm supposed to be without spot or blemish, what does that mean? So I go to the text where it says that, and in the Hebrew, the word for blemish, it doesn't mean like, oh, I got a chicken pox scar, or oh, I got I have a a cut and there's a scar, or I have a mark on me or something, or a scab or something. It does not mean that. It does not mean that. That is what the quote unquote Pharisaical mindset has made it become. You're inspecting it for the physical appearance, but the word there for blemish or wrinkle or spot, whatever translation you're reading, it means completely, complete. So when you give your sacrifice, you have to give it all, the complete sacrifice, all of it. And if you're the sacrifice, if you're the living sacrifice, you need to give all of yourself.
Mm.
That's what it's
Mm.
saying. Without blemish means everything, 100%, not 99.9999999%. And then you're holding out on that one thing that you just can't let go. That's the very thing that's going to hold you back. That
Mm.
one, that 99%, you are fantastic. And that one thing, that's what you can't let go. That is the stumbling block. He said, give yourself completely. It's just like a husband. He wants his wife to be his completely, not almost, kind of almost his, like all. I want all of, my wife. I want to wrap myself around her, and I want her to embrace me. All. I want her to let everything go and just trust me, and knowing that Yah has instilled in me that I can lead her properly. But this is the same concept that he wants from his children. And then there's a large portion where his children is like there's a wedding feast. So we inadvertently kind of we're like if we're not his bride, we're like his bride. I mean, we can argue that concept, but
Yeah, yeah.
if we're the bride, then give yourself completely. He wants you to submit to him 1,000,000,000%. He literally says without blemish. That means all. It doesn't mean there's a stain on me or whatever. That stain is that 0.0001% that you didn't give up. That's the stain. Yeah, it means complete. I think that's an incredible understanding. Even though we already know that we're supposed to give our all, that's kind of cliche. But when you look at the script, it literally tells you that in your sacrifice that you're supposed to get. It doesn't mean blemish per se. That word means complete wholeness, everything. And that's what you need to give. You need to give everything.
Give it all. Give it all. Remember those old songs? Give it all. I have on the screen right here the town of needles. You see those little bitty needles? You see those that archway behind the man's head on the right hand side and where the woman is bending down? That's the eye of the needle gate. That little eye is what Yahweh Shah was saying, that it's easier for a camel to get in there, to squat down on all fours and get in there, okay, which is basically impossible. It's easier for them to get in there than it is for a rich man to get into glory, get into heaven. So I wanted to show you guys that before I look like a weirdo for having it up there and you guys not know what it was for. So I had to tell you guys what it was. What it was. Sharon Marie, thank you so very much for being with us this evening. Who else? I just saw Poppy Love snuck in here on us. And saw a couple of other folks. I think it was Ara. Hello, Ara. Hello, Ara Jones. How are you? She came in here as well. And TGS Source, thank you for being here. Yeah, so I had to make this. Let me take that off the screen. That's why it was up there. That's why. And yes, obedience to the Father also means we trust in him and his counsel and know he knows us best. That's correct. Inger Norman, how are you tonight, dear sister? Hello, hello. I want to tell you hello. So I'm gonna take this off the screen, but that's I just wanted to show you about the needle gate. That's all. Anyway, I'm a little weird like that. Just a little weirdo. How does she know those amazing facts? Well, how does Ronnie, man, know some of the facts? Talking about etymology, well, I'll talk to Ronnie sometimes and I'll be like, thus and such, and he'll be really quiet. And I'm like, what? Well, I don't use that term because do you know what that means? And I'm like, oh, I'm sure I'll know in a few minutes. And he will tell me, and I'm like, yikes, no wonder. Okay, I won't ever say God bless you again. After a person sneezes. So yeah, but anyway, I'm glad you guys are able to hang out with me while we read these scriptures tonight. And I don't know, I may come back and finish reading up James in the next couple of days here and there. Yeah, we still have to finish Ezekiel. Hello. Although a lot of stuff started happening that sort of took all over what we had just got through reading in Ezekiel. You remember that, Ronnie?
Hmm.
World things started happening, and it was like, yikes. What do you think about the current situation biblically?
Well, I mean, it's kind of a broad stroke question. Like the current situation, I mean, are you narrowing it down? You just mean everything in general.
Well, I guess you can just speak on it however you feel comfortable. Whatever,
Well, I mean, I can sum it up, in a paraphrase of scripture. As the day approaches, you need to tighten up. That's it, and we can blatantly
Amen.
see that the day is approaching. Mayhem.
Wait a minute. Isn't that the name of the guy on that commercial? I love that commercial. He
Yeah,
be
yeah.
grooving down the street. His name is Mayhem. He's on the insurance commercial, and he's grooving. He's got his blackened eyes, like whatever happens, bad could happen as long as Mayhem is around. And so what he's saying is, have our insurance, and you'll be protected from mayhem. That's
Uh,
exactly right. And the
Well, there's only
Father
one. There's
is
only
our
one insurance.
insurance. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. There's only one
Mm-hmm.
insurance
Mm-hmm.
to protect you from mayhem.
To protect you from
To
mayhem.
protect you from mayhem.
Ah! Oh, I love it. I love all of you guys. I'm glad you guys were able to hang out with us. Please make sure that everybody do me a big favor and hit that like button. And if you can, go ahead and share it out. That would be great. I might be back with you guys in the morning. You never know. The children are out of their education points now, so we don't have to do any more teaching. So they're on their break. So who knows what tomorrow morning may bring. All right, you guys. I'm going to tell you all. Ronnie, thank you so much for being here, my brother. I love you. I'm so happy to see that you were able to pop in on us like this. That was awesome. And hopefully we'll be able to get together really soon. I would like to see if you are able to come really, really, really soon. Yes, Sharon. Yes, yes. See, that's what we got to do. Just thinking about the easy. We got to do it, girl. See, now you done said it and I done said it. Out of the mouth of two or more witnesses, we got to get back on that. So we will definitely consider and do that very soon. So Ronnie, is there anything else that you'd like to add before we're done? Yeah, I suspect it would be interesting too, R. Jones, with all the stuff going on.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh no. If I submit any more of my mindset, we're gonna tack on about 10 more minutes. So I think I think I'll learn when to be quiet.
Well, I think you can come on tomorrow if you're not really, if you're not at work or busy or whatever. If you want to come on in the morning, you and I can talk offline and figure out something. But I think that yeah, we need you to come on back and hang out with us. But until we decide that, I'm going to tell everybody tonight that I appreciate each and every one of you guys. Remember what we always say on any of the Felicia Lockhart Group publications, and that is that man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of the Most High. You guys remember to take care of yourselves first. And then you can take care of everybody else around you, all the neighbors and everybody else, because you're strong and you can handle it. You strong. All right? And until we see each other again, please continue to be blessed. To receive instant notification each time I upload, please hit the subscribe button and the bell notification. Helping you along the way. Helping you to make it through another day. Yeah, yeah. Everything you need to know that you never knew.